He lived there for quite a while.
So we could.
Okay, we're good. Okay. Welcome to our city council meeting this morning, our work meeting. Appreciate everybody's patience as we work through our closed session we have. We're gonna jump right in, we're gonna try to go through this fast now. 1.1, review of this evening's agenda. Any other changes? We do need to come back to a close again after. So any other changes? Okay, move on to 1.2, future agenda items.
I do have kind of a, one I haven't spoken to anyone about, and maybe you guys may not be supportive of this, but I have been, and, over the past few years, been, wanting to discuss our membership with the Utah League of Cities and Towns. There are just some, I don't know, some weaknesses I feel like. We pay a lobbyist currently. I just question the value of the money that we spend with the league. And I would like to discuss that as a council, just to understand it.
You do know that I've asked for Cam to come make a presentation to us
Yeah,
about
we're
what our
shooting him
money is
some
getting it.
meeting schedules. I'm just trying to find a time in a work
Okay.
meeting right now with budget when it would actually make sense for him to be here.
And he's come, you know, a few years ago and chatted, you know, obviously individually and before and at the council, but, just would like to, and I appreciate that he's coming, but then in follow-up to that, I would really like to have an understanding, because we do pay a considerable amount even to our own lobbyist, and we've talked about that, and we opted to stay with that, so I just really want to understand the true value we're getting for what we're spending.
I think any membership should go through an annual or biannual review process of something. I don't know if that's something we can set up.
A periodic.
A periodic period, yeah. You know, even with the league or with the chamber, or whatever associations we're with.
Okay, I like it. Okay.
Oh, I might have a couple more. They did say something when I was in the water class the other day at the youth meeting. They encouraged people to, sorry, I have to find my right now. How can we grow water neutral? They're like everyone to start growing water neutral. And so it's like, well, okay, can we?
How is that possible?
Exactly, well, I don't know, conservation, I mean, even household fixtures, I don't know, what do you think about that?
Growing water neutral. I mean, I think it's potentially possible. I don't know if it's exactly neutral.
But like as a kind of a focus?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was wondering if we can maybe look into that a little bit and see if we
Yeah.
can.
repurposing or whatever.
And then,
As much as you use, as you get
And
back
then
here.
the water shortage contingency plan,
Yeah, we're working on one with Jordan Valley right now.
okay,
It's a drought, the drought response and drought resiliency plan.
yeah, so just, I guess, you know, when you get that, if you can circle back around with us, that would be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
One item I had, probably not really an agenda item, but I'm kind of jealous of like name tags when people go to events and situations rather than sticky notes on your chest. So I don't know if that's something.
I have a name tag.
Yeah.
Don't we have, didn't we,
We can get your name tag, Betty.
thought you
Yeah,
had
pick
one,
on.
sorry.
I'm gonna wear mine next time, just
Are
to
you?
say, look
Okay.
at it.
Alright, you guys are
wear mine.
special, couple councils good. I just thought of that like going to the league and stuff, but just, you
Yeah,
know.
they make you wear the lanyards.
Yeah, the
Shows
lanyard,
that you
yeah.
paid.
Only if I can have a red jacket.
I want a green jacket.
Green jacket,
Yeah.
green jacket. Okay. Anything else? Sorry, we gotta push through. 1.3, future citizen recognitions.
I did get an email or a text about how, I think we have 7 Sterling Scholars at Harriman High School. They may not all be Harriman residents, but I'd love to see some of those residents. I know one's my neighbor, she's awesome, she's the DECA, and she's been noticed before.
We had to reach out to all 4 schools and see if they're certain.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if they were finalists, like state semifinal, like, I don't know what it, I have no idea what the official.
Do that.
Then I've got a list today from somebody who brought me this, I think I brought it up, but these were all there's that some of the Utah Pioneer scholarships, they were all went to Harriman High. And 3 of them were residents, but I thought we'd have all 5, so I've got them list I'll reach out to.
And what scholarship is that?
The Sons of the Utah Pioneers
Oh, okay.
Scholarships.
You suggesting we reach across the island to South
That's
Georgia?
what it is.
It's gonna
It's actually really cool.
Yes. Okay, anything else? Okay. Well, 3.1 then, we'll jump right into this, I know people are here for this. Discussion of South Hills Master Development Agreement to add approximately 74 acres of property. Michael, you take a point on this?
I will just run through a quick slide presentation. They have their own PowerPoint presentation. We'll switch to them. That's good.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So as the council knows, amendments to the development agreement, as per the original agreement, changes should be trying to implement or follow the East Area General Plan, which was produced when this property was de-annexed out of Bluffdale and largely came into Harriman City. So that map is here for reference tonight. This project had a planned unit development approval as well as the MDA. That's been the pattern of the city in the past. This PUD approval was referenced as an exhibit in the original MDA. However, this particular document that describes what the planning commission had actually approved was not in the original MDA, just the associated map that follows it. And so that was one of the recommendations from the planning commission, is we just wanna have the whole decision of the planning commission attached to the MDA itself. This is the current land use plan that was approved by the city council in 2022. This is part of what they're amending. There are some textual amendments that are being proposed. So they're removing some property, which we've seen property move in and out of this MDA as well as others. That's not unusual. However, one of the parcels some of the property is currently owned by Staker. And we've had a previous decision by the city council in the MDA saying that all properties need to be owned by the master developer in order to benefit from the MDA. So that is a discussion point that we need to work through. Because it's my understanding that Wasatch is not planning on acquiring all of those properties. Anyway, so you'll have more discussions. And by the way, we have agents here from representing Wasatch as well as the engineering company consultant, and Bruce Baird, their attorney, and then also Craig Martin with Wasatch is online. So there are amendments to the future land use map for undeveloped parcels. And then amendments to the technical guidelines that specifically includes a new housing type. When the planning commission made a recommendation to approve, they had identified some additional items they would like to see modified in the applicant's proposal on that land use type. One of the things that the planning commission had identified, these are the list of conditions that were recommended by the planning commission. We just want to verify we have compliance with the East Harriman general plan. We are maintaining, the applicant is maintaining compliance with the density standard maximum of 4.5. They're actually showing that they're producing less than that, or going to develop less than 4.5 units per acre. We've asked them to simplify the land use table to be consistent with previous tables. They've been willing to do that. They've actually showed us a modified table since the planning commission saw this project that is more consistent with previous tables. Mentioned about the medium density small lot design standards that the planning commission would like to see further amended. Mentioned about the PUD approval, just having the planning commission's documentation included in the MDA. Pod 1 is where the soccer complex is located. It had been previously removed, but it was appearing on a land use plan. This amended the land use plan, so we've asked them to remove that again, and they've agreed to do that. Again, the planning commission's PUD approval had some specific language about open space being contiguous and also unbuildable open space only counting to 50% of their open space requirements. So we're just wanting to make sure that there's an analysis of that as we're changing the land use plan and adding more property. Another thing administratively, a lot of these documents, all of the documents are just simply scanned documents. Some of them are really illegible. And now we're talking about a fifth amendment. And I recognize that this is a bigger lift on the development team to produce a clean, comprehensive, amended and restated MDA. But for administration, it's my recommendation, and the planning commission forwarded that recommendation to you, that now's the time to do that again. But I also told the development team, don't start moving on that, because you may feel differently. You may also have your own amendments that you would like to see potentially negotiated with the developer. So I've not asked them to make any changes to those documents based on the planning commission's recommendation. So that's my little quick intro. So if we can switch over to Leif, you're gonna be doing a presentation? Yeah. Okay, and if you wanna come sit here, and that'd be just fine.
Do we have like any elevator kind of music?
I can sing.
Yeah, perfect.
Jared,
Jared, can you
you got the
sing?
elevator music.
Sing, Jared.
I've got Metallica for you.
There you go.
Works.
Hey, that'll work.
If that doesn't work, try the H station. Yeah. We haven't tested that in a while, so.
There's an actual study about heavy rock metal music will actually make you less anxious, except the words on it usually make you more enraged. So it's a weird.
Is
that what Steve listens to?
No, I'm more like the Hulk, I'm just always angry.
Bruce Banner.
Doesn't matter what music's playing.
Seems like it shifted. There we go.
Good
You
job.
just accidentally click share.
All right, thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Leif Smith with Wasatch Commercial Developers and Reed from Infinity Consulting with Engineering. And was it Lydia? Lydia's here from Mountain Mike's Pizza, one of our development tenants. Found out on this meeting on our own and just wanted to come learn what she could learn. Craig Martin is our president and applicant. He is ill, but he is on the link to the video chat. So if you may hear him pipe in at times, or if you have questions for him, he is here as well. I also wanted to mention that Wasatch Commercial Developers, there's 5 core employees, 5 support employees that do other roles for other companies as well. But I just wanted to let you know that we're pretty small, we're local, and 2 of us live right here in Harriman. I think this will be my 8th year coming up. And we've seen what's gone on in Harriman for, a decade now, and we're really appreciative of what you guys are doing, because we've noticed all the procedure changes and stuff and the improvements that have been made, and that's awesome. But to get started, South Hills, Mike set us up real well. This MDA goes back to 2009, 4 amendments, like he said, and a lot of things have changed since then. Mountain View Corridor, we didn't know exactly where it was going to land back in 2009. Panorama came into fruition, which we've been partnering with the city as well to try and figure some things out, which has altered some things in this amendment and planning and then the city water tanks, the tank sites, and the planning for that. And council at one point asked, however many months ago, to add more commercial in, so we've done that as well. And so it's been a long time, but there's been a lot of changes that obviously caused this to get us to where we are now. But to give you a lay of the land graphically, Panorama is on the left there. The highlighted portion is technically South Hills, but also Academy Village, the RSL training facility, Soleil Lofts, the apartments over there to have familiarity with the kind of products and stuff that we like to provide. Pod 2, 4, and 3, so Soleil's pod 3. 2 and 4 were sold to builders to build those homes. We didn't build those, but we built Soleil. So when you look at density and you look at what's been entitled and max units and stuff, everything there's already built. We can't build more there, that's all done. Everything we're really talking about is south of Mountain View Corridor. And since that time as well, whereas we sold 2 and 4 to home builders, we've started our own construction company called Wasatch Construction Partners. And most of, if not all of the south side will be built by us. It might be a mix, but our intention as of now is to build the majority of those homes, specifically those in 16 and 17 on the corridor there, which would be the first phase being built. So as Mike said, where we left off in 2020, 2022 with Amendment 4, we sat here with a max of 2,770 units planned for the whole area. As before we talked about a land swap with Panorama DAI, we wanted to add in pod 20, the hash marked portion that you see there. And that helps, just a contiguous roadway infrastructure. My particular favorite part is the open space at the top, that crest ridge line, which if you refer to the East Area Master Plan highlights wanting to have this backdrop, that blended city with the mountain. And I like that ridge is preserved and doesn't have homes on it in this model. Provides more open space contiguous to other trail connectivity and such like that. But with that being added in, obviously, we have a discussion to be had on how that fits in with the MDA and the East Area Master Plan and what the City Council desires for this area. So that leads us to the land swap. So I'll go back and forth a couple times. You can see there's that square gap in the middle, and then this has a laser on it. Flip it on the green button. And then we kind of have an island here where all this white is Panorama, and Panorama owns this part. So after working with them and the city, talking about parks, trails, and open space, and how could we maybe change some of the parks, trails, particularly in Panorama, to make a better experience for the citizens with parks and stuff. And it made more sense to swap this part, give them part of our part. I'll go back and forth one more time so you can see it. It just made it, the islands kind of go away, even though we still have an island here. It also added in the commercial that the city council asked us to incorporate however long ago. This just kind of highlights it a little more. It helps them with this road right here. Instead of part of that road being on our property, now that whole road is on their property, which is part of why Lydia from Mountain Mike's Pizza is here tonight. Not that one in particularly, but she said she's interested in roads.
And stoplights.
So there is a comparison table. I don't think diving into it in this setting is needed. it essentially shows, Reed, can you kind of comment on this one for a minute? We kind of break up the pods that don't have equivalent
Well, the
comparison numbers.
bottom line, just to be quick, is the top table is all of the equivalent pods to lump 4 and lump 5. So we're comparing apples to apples in 4 and 5 in this top bigger table. And basically we have 272 fewer units now than we did before. So there's some that went up. You see like there's 19 more units in that one, there's 70 more units in that one, but there's 65 fewer, 21 fewer, 70 fewer, 65 fewer. So the net is 272 fewer. Then you go to the new pods that are being added, and that added up to 273 more units. There's no apples to compare because lump 4 didn't have that area. The bottom line is that everything above the corridor, if you just look across that row, basically without open space is the 2.6, but the density of the whole mountain above Mountain View corridor is now 2 units per acre.
So I'll even go back to this one. So that's why I highlighted that this is all built. Can't build any more there. It's all built. We have the 4.5 units per acre in the MDA, which we're showing we're going to be under that. But everything left that we are planning in this whole south portion is 2 units per acre.
And, but I assume that that's a large part because a lot of it's topography. You can't- you
That
can't
and
build
there's
on
so much density right here.
it. So you take 500 acres and you say I can only build on 100 of it, so it makes the numbers look a lot better than they are.
Mm-hmm. That's
Well,
correct. Yeah.
but there's 272 units fewer than lump 4.
But you,
We're
you
adding
lost-
land and going down in units.
it looked like there was a net of 1. You lost 272 and you gained 273.
Because we added 118 more acres. So the overall
Yeah, I
density
guess you're-
went down.
But the housing units stayed almost the same.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
there's only
that's a
one-
good
a
way
lot's
to
one.
explain it, yeah.
Lots, similar sizes, similar spacing,
Bigger.
bigger lot, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so
bigger, open, more green space, more open space on the lots.
Yeah, everything in the added portion would be 2.5 units per acre or less. So those would be, and those are gonna be the view that is like 270
Down the side of the mountain.
degrees, yeah. Those ones are gonna
Those are
be,
gorgeous, yeah.
I'm
Very
not
good.
suggesting that it's not,
Oh,
it's
no, no,
lower
I'm-
density, but part of it is to be
Yeah.
because
So-
you can't build on it.
so I think another thing that might help you in your understanding of everything, Mike mentioned the PUD back from January 15th, 2009. And one of these I think shows the total number of, I think it's 2,209 units were approved for this. And if you compare that to what is the added land we've added since then, so that was 2,200, and I'm gonna change applications here. But if you overlay that, you can see the added land since that PUD from 2009. And so 2009, this was entitled for 2,200, just the PUD. If you go to the zoning that was approved by city council at that time, and if you do the math on that, which to Mike's request, I punched myself in the head trying to figure it out, and I did. But it essentially showed that if you just went off zoning and not the PUD, it was zoned for 3,200 homes. So 2,200, 3,200, and what we're proposing in Amendment 5 is 2,700. Mind you, all of this extra land is not in those 2009 inclusions, so.
What's that estimated acreage on that land for the extra 500 homes?
The original acreage
No, well,
or
the
the
new
new
acreage.
The new acreage
Maybe both, so we have the delta, but.
is 563 acres.
And what was the original, or
The original acreage was in the PUD was about 440, not including open space. Well, actually, no, that is,
That's probably.
that is not including open space, yeah. So I think I have that actually, 1 second. One second. Mike, I thought it was in that letter, but maybe not.
$490,
You saw it?
precise site and parcel.
Yeah, 490 acres.
On the original?
So, to just continue on that, if you looked at one of the exercises Michael asked us to do as part of this was go past present, 09 to now, through each amendment, lump change, whatever, referencing the East Area Master Plan, the zoning from that point, the PUD and the land use. And when you start going down that rabbit hole, holy moly, trying to figure out after every little change happens as one piece of land gets added in, are we going off the PUD, are we going off the zoning, which is here, or are we going off the land use that's shown in the East Area Master Plan? And so when looking just specifically at pod 20, which I know it's kind of hard to read here, but you can see the yellow orangish blob.
That's about 20.
Yep. Oh yeah, I have a laser pointer. Forgot about that. And the open space around it. And so I went down the rabbit hole again. And if you took that overlay, and because I was just doing this not to scale on a computer, but when I drew the polygons of what's in the master plan and what our property line is proposed for the housing, our housing comes out to 15.11 square inch, mind you, the ratio calculation. And the zoning comes out to 16.09, which at that point, that zoning was 2.5 units per acre, which is what we are proposing. So to show that we are in line with the master plan was the purpose of showing you that slide. And I know that is a lot to digest, but that's really the gist of it. And the rest, we would just love to get your feedback. We've been trying to get to this work meeting for a while so that if and when this gets approved, a bunch of dominoes fall after this. We make the land swap with DAI. We're moving forward on the sewer install May 1st. We'll be moving on water tank infrastructure and things with Jonathan and Justin not too long after that. And this would really get the ball rolling. And also with DAI Panorama also stalling on this, waiting to hear what this decision is for the land swap would result in the speed of their MDA discussions and their plan. Whether it's yes or no, we just kind of, before we take next steps, we've been kind of waiting for this chip to fall. But a lot of this is planning commission, we got all this feedback and we're really excited to make the changes about design standards and things like that, but we want to hear a lot of feedback from you as well. Thank you very much.
I'll let you know.
So, you might understand that what's being represented is that a land swap with DAI for Panorama, whatever parcels you're swapping there, can't be done unless there's more acreage added to the MDA for other units in another place?
No.
I'm trying to understand. 'Cause
It just seemed to make sense with the islands we had, the road. It really wasn't for like, there wasn't a huge purpose of doing it. It was more just made sense to do with their road, and it gave us a better place to put commercial than, especially with the freeway coming in. It made more
So-
sense to do it
So
there.
just whatever the swaps are here, the lands, the units, the properties, whatever, are reasonable economic value for the parties to make that exchange, is that fair?
Yes, hey Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, so we plan on making that land swap. We just haven't gotten the paperwork finalized yet.
okay,
So that's a definitive thing that's going to happen.
okay,
And one of the reasons why we wanted that to happen was because of the contiguous nature of the properties and
Yeah.
because we wanted to
totally makes
adhere
sense.
to the city's desire for commercial along Mountain View corridor. So that will happen. I've gotten approval from Deloy Hansen. I just haven't gotten the documentation to sign yet from Chase.
Totally,
As
totally
soon as
got
that
it.
happens, it's a done deal.
And Craig, am I correct too that part of that isn't this where the proposed park is going to go?
Well, that's part of the land swap, yes. So I mean that contiguous nature when we talk about if you, I can't see what you're displaying on the screen.
Can you see
here.
my mouse
But
motor?
You're not sharing.
Well, I believe
I'm looking at the entire boardroom. I can't see the screen.
the peninsula that was Pod 5 makes the area where they're putting a park bigger.
No, the area that will be Pod 23, which used to be the Lennar property that goes up sort of
I got them
northeast
right there.
throughout that property, will create the park. Rita, you.
Yeah, the park is,
We found it, yeah, we
literally,
found
looking
it.
at the boardroom.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
found
You're
it.
good.
Yeah.
I'm pointing
Sorry, Craig,
to,
yes, we found it, sorry.
I'm pointing to where that park really is,
We forgot you couldn't see it, yeah, we found
next
it.
to Pod 7.
Is there any possible way you could share the screen with the meeting? I'm sorry, Ms. Bruce Beard.
If you go to the Facebook, or not the YouTube live for the city,
It's there, otherwise you'd have to be in the Teams meeting.
Great, thank you very much. I'll put up split screen.
So what are we not
What's our-
nodding to, or what's our direction, or what
You
are
know
we
what's
looking at?
funny about what you said a few minutes ago? Remember, I can't remember exactly your words, but it was a little bit crazy, all of the different documents.
Rabbit holes, yeah.
But we have the same issue. I hate when these come back, sorry to be so blunt, when these come back for another amendment, it's like, why do we just keep adding on to this mess? Can't we just go with a new MDA if you wanna do a land and do some development on it? Just come and do an MDA for the new piece of land. These are such a mess to go back through, and we're locked into things that 2009, I think, is when I mean, so much has changed in this city since 2009. I hate having to continue to add on to this mess because you can't even read the documents anymore.
and I believe that's why Michael proposed that part of this Fifth Amendment should be a resubmission and amended, recorded in the MDA, add everything into it so that we have a new baseline. We don't have to do this backwards dance anymore. All the stuff that was missing, the 2 pages Michael showed, anything else, let's get it all there so we don't have to do this dance anymore moving forward.
But it still is kind of a backward dance because we're working on a plan from 2009 instead of something that's current to date that fits with in harmony with our city goals. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do, but we could put in this amendment that now everything applies to, whatever we say it is now, 2024, whatever's established in this is now it. We're never going back to 2009 again.
Those are.
Hey, Sherry, that's
Some of us
why we're trying to do the amendments. We're trying to amend something that isn't really related to 2009 or 2010 or so on and so forth, and we're trying to make it better.
No, for sure, and
Believe me,
you're in the same boat, so when he was saying that, I was laughing to myself, I'm like, well, I'm glad you guys are, it's messy for you too, 'cause it's messy here.
I felt Michael and other staff's pain, for sure. it's not easy.
We understand that you think it's a mess, but we're also trying to make the mess better.
Sure.
For not only you, but for Harriman City. I mean,
No,
we're
I
in the same boat as you are.
I appreciate that.
One question or comment is, not even, this might be way too early, but in our design standards, Mike, the 22-foot setback for driveways, is that back of curb, back of sidewalk, back of?
That's from property line to the garage.
That one
Typically,
we
we're
changed
doing
it to.
24 now, but, you know, they had an older
Yeah,
agreement.
I was wondering if we could change that, because parking a truck, I mean, like,
Yeah.
parking, yeah.
We went through that discussion with the planning commission.
Yeah.
We talked, because it was 20 in their MDA,
Yeah.
and so 24 is our new standard. 22 seems to fit the F-150, the most popular truck in Utah. And so
Yeah.
if you go to an F-350, then yeah, you're gonna stick out, but that seemed to be a number that was in between both, but it's in your purview.
But are these bigger homes on,
On small, well, they have bigger lots, but pushing them back another 2 feet might reduce the backyard or topograph.
A lot of this is because of topography and bends in the road where it's already pretty tight.
The design standards that are part of the Amendment 5 actually are the medium density small lot that only apply to that land use, not to all the big lots that are getting bigger up on the higher part of the project. So these medium density small lots are quite small, 5,000 to 6,000 square feet.
yeah,
And so they will have smaller families, smaller cars, smaller everything, so. Two different lifestyles, I would say.
I don't know, everybody likes their trucks.
And it's important what Regis highlighted is that the planning commission specified that this can't be over the whole, every pot. It needs to be identified when approved, that this is only applying to XYZ in these few areas, not the whole development.
I know Jared had a few comments. Please share. Is he still on? Jared, are you still on?
He shows he's on.
Muted.
He's traveling. right?
He's on mute though.
I'll pull
He's
his
driving, so.
He's driving.
While we're waiting, two things I'm gonna be looking for, I'll just say a couple things. One concern I'm majorly concerned about, and I don't know if there's anything we can do. We went through this with
The Laguna
the
Mountain.
Laguna Malibu, is the Camp Williams. I do not like, I mean, I don't know what,
Where's your?
but you're right up against them.
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally building a house on the border of Camp Williams. And I know we get into the property rights versus, but it's gonna be a concern for us. We will get phone calls. We will start getting from every resident up there, we'll get the complaints. We just will. So that's a concern. The other thing I would like to see addressed, and I don't know how we address it in this MDA, and it's another reason Lydia's here, and I know there was a comment made by the team to Sandra, the economic development, why is the mayor getting involved in this? But I'm getting calls from that commercial development that they are not successful because there's not building out fast enough. I wanna see some sort of tie-in to where that commercial, cause again, we've gone back, even in previous amendments when I was on planning commission, we approved that apartment complex moving to where it could program that commercial area faster, and yet I know people wanna be there, and yet we're just coming out of the ground so slow on the commercial. So again, we've approved all this commercial, we approved all the housing to get this commercial, and now the commercial, just like it seems like everywhere else in the city, comes way after, where I know there's people that wanna be there, coming out of the ground. So I don't know how to tie that to,
You could tie it
But-
to somewhat commercial.
so I don't know if it's gonna be a certain, gotta build out more commercial to get more
use.
permits, but that commercial center has to go faster. It's gotta go faster.
So Mayor, are you trying to tie the commercial development to what we're talking about here today?
I don't know. I mean, that's a thought. I don't know how to push that. It might be complicated, Craig, but I don't know what other point I have to tie some that commercial center is just going too slow. It's just not going fast enough. And we've already seen a couple people fell, and it could be other reasons, right? But that commercial center needs to, because we need that. The onesies and twosies right now aren't supporting each other enough. I mean, it's just, they're doing everything they can, but we just need that center built And I don't know how to tie it. I'm just saying, I don't know what that looks like right now. I'm just putting that idea out right now.
So probably the sooner these rooftops appear, the sooner that commercial will be healthier. I think the pizza shop is an example of that. She's very interested in seeing more construction workers ordering pizza and more families doing the same, so.
And I agree, 100%, and we've talked about that, we know that's a factor for sure, but there also needs to be, like I was at Mountain Ridge High School today, for example, right? And this keeps coming up with these students and their families, they come down out of the Juniper neighborhoods, right? They come down, right, as it is, I mean, and granted, we're gonna finish Juniper, right? But hopefully be part of this, right?
Yeah.
But right now, they go down Rosecrest, they hit Mountain View corridor. They've got a chance, they can go left and go down to our neighboring city, and you can hit a Harmon's and a pet store or you turn right and you go to a Lee's and it's just, we need that center. It's not, I don't think, yes, we need rooftops, but that center needs to be more, for it to be viable in and of itself, it needs to be more, cause I know people are wanting to be there.
I mean, the apartments are there,
Yeah, and the apartments just stopped, you know, that's rooftops, but yeah, we're not working on the apartments now. So there's gotta be more to it than building more we've heard that for years. More rooftops are gonna lead to more commercial, where I've had people calling me saying, we wanna be open there. And we're talking a year or longer so there's just, I don't know what it is, and I'm not on that side of things, I don't know what the answer is. But I'm looking at my businesses and trying to help them be successful, and the lack of commercial development around them is hurting them as well. So it's not just lack of rooftops.
How much pressure can we put on UDOT to get a light there as well?
So that's in
It's
our,
needed on that Academy Way.
that's for us, it's in your capital plan for this next year, but there's a lot of complications with that. It's about a $1.8 million project, cause we have to widen the road, so it's already, that part is planned, we do have to work with UDOT to do that. But really it's getting the Juniper Crest coming down, that's what we'll build the lights now, but there'll still be some work that has to happen.
Would be okay by
Hey,
me.
Mayor, I understand what you're saying. I just don't necessarily think it's super fair to be having a kind of a judgment call on what's happening commercially with what we're doing residentially. I mean, these are two different things. And we have got multiple companies involved in both environments. So, I just seem like and believe me, I don't mean this in any negative way, but I seem like being a little bit attacked for what's going on commercially for what we're trying to do here in this meeting and move ahead this residential project.
Craig, I think there can be two truths at the same time, right? They're not mutually exclusive things. We can be frustrated about the lack of speed in the commercial and still have a discussion about the residential. They don't necessarily have to be tied, but it's an opportunity to at least express that directly to you, the frustration that exists there.
Okay, well, what do you guys wanna do? You wanna talk about the residential portion of things that we're here today, or do you wanna talk about the commercial? What do you guys wanna do? I'm ready for whatever you wanna do.
Well, again, that's not on the commercial can be a separate conversation, you know, the thing on the agenda and before us is the residential.
Well, but I think the thing on the agenda before us is to amend the NDA. So anytime we have an opportunity to amend an NDA, it's our responsibility to look at it and say, is there things in the NDA that we would like adjusted? Jared, are you on?
Why would we talk about amending the NDA for something related to commercial when the NDA has nothing to do with commercial?
Well, I'm just.
The overall NDA does.
Our last amendment had the commercial added in.
But you're pinpointing a very certain portion of commercial here.
That's true, but it's the same. I'll read you, if Jared's not on, I'll read you his concerns.
I'm on.
Oh, good, do you wanna read yours, Jared?
Well, I'll just interject regarding the commercial. I don't know that it's even feasible to try to force someone to build something faster. And I actually agree with Craig on this. I think the two are are kind of separate. I mean, we've legislated for the commercial area. I would have to think that they're building as fast as they can to make it work for them. I don't know how you tell a private business how to run their business. That's not really our job. That's my 2 cents on that part. My concerns with the overall MDA at this point is the unit cap and the money, right? So one, there's been, Michael mentioned it, the clause that the master developer has to own any property that gets added. Whether we want to keep that in there or not, my opinion is it absolutely needs to stay in there. In fact, we've talked about making that even more stringent, that we're just not going to allow any more property to be added because we're tired of doing this song and dance. And then the second concern for me is, we've always talked about this bank of units that hasn't been used, and by our zoning, it can't be used. I can't see any of the screens that we've been looking at, but hopefully we're kind of wiping those out. They're not held over our heads. And then third is the money, right? If we're amending the MDA, I've said this from the beginning, every one of these conversations, if we're amending the MDA, then we need to make sure that we are covering ourselves financially with the agreements, with the CDAs, the TIF, the impact fees. All of that is the biggest mess down there with all three entities. So those are my three biggest concerns, for whatever that's worth.
So Jared, just to provide a little bit of context, yes, adding a little bit of property to the MDA, but the density is going down, and much of the infrastructure would be paid for through the public infrastructure district that will hopefully be approved here in the next coming months. So, just on the surface, from what yeah, go ahead.
I understand the use of the PID, but having it be successful is dependent on cleaning up all of those other agreements. So I'm with you. I think we're speaking the same language, but they do go hand in hand. If we're approving one thing ahead of the other,
agreed.
That's where
100%.
the city's always gotten itself into trouble.
So let me ask you this then. So how do we get these two things to be aligned in the same meeting to get this stuff moved forward, where we don't have to have meeting upon meeting upon meeting of all of these different things separately? How do we align this thing so we can get it done in one straight shot? And I know I'm asking a rhetorical question because I have meetings with the city every 2 weeks, and it goes back and forth and back and forth. And all we want to do, and I know that you want to do, is just be able to streamline this thing and get it done without having to have all of these meetings over and over and over again, where we just sort of go around in circles.
And Craig, I get it. I don't think any of us want to have those. I don't think any of us like those anymore. We're trying to get away from that. I think this is our first blush at this. I mean,
you guys have looked at this amendment number 5, I think 4 or 5 times.
Had a couple modifications. I can speak to one thing that Jared brought up. The impact fee agreements that we've had with Wasatch, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, but they've all been paid out. We're done. We're finished with those. See, the only ones we're still working on are the ones with Rosecrest. And there are no agreements with the Wasatch Group for any of the funds from the CDA. So, but the CDA is dependent on the construction of Academy Village, because that's within there. And so, the faster it builds out, the faster the CDA makes funds to pay back our agreements with Rosecrest Group.
If I may, on that, the city agreement, we're almost finished with 2 more buildings, and a lot of the delay has been because of electrical switchgear that lead times were 52 weeks, and the switchgear for, I'm not positive, but I believe it's Santo Saco and Iceberg are very near, and we are in the process of subdividing Pod 39 next door because of the slew of LOIs from interested tenants. are knocking on the door, and once we're done with these two buildings, we're going over to Pod 39 next. And even though we don't directly control the Academy Terrace apartment project, they have notified us that June is when that thing is picking back up. So just to provide
So
context there.
in context, I think West Jordan for their city hall, the reason they were out of it so long, their switchgear was 18 months.
No,
When
I'm
they
still
started.
waiting on stuff too.
You know,
Yeah.
and maybe I'll back, and I didn't mean to attack anything, it's just I'm hearing from those businesses that they need support, right? And this, and Jared, I get what you're saying, it is different, but we've done that in other MDAs. In the Olympia MDA, we tied it to, there was a certain square footage that had to be built of commercial. So to say we never don't tie it, we have before, right? I'm willing to have that conversation independently to understand what can be done to move that, just, I don't wanna throw anybody under the bus, but other conversations, we kinda just get blown off. Like, it's just, they don't understand the seriousness of, the concerns, so that gets blown off by some other parties. So I wanna just have that relationship where we can come and talk and how we can move that forward. I mean, I don't think fundamentally we have a lot of concerns. I mean, by MDA, you can, bring most of this in as it is, right? I mean,
Well, I think the one that's spelled out in the staff report is that Amendment 4 requires the master developer to own anything else that's brought in. And since they are bringing new property, assuming they're either going to own it or they're gonna ask for some other condition in their amendment to allow it to come in differently.
Yeah.
The current MDA, that is Amendment 4, puts a restriction on it that the master owner has to.
and so what do they not own?
Do you not currently own
The state-
section
That
on
pod
Staker.
20, I think it's the Staker
That
property.
pot up against,
No.
The hashed property they were talking about.
And Craig, I think that my point was, whenever we open up an MDA, if there's somebody on the council that has to, vote on this, and they have an issue with something in the NDA, I think that's absolutely the time to talk about it and work it out if you disagree, and I think that that's okay to have those conversations, just to make sure that if there's something that could be worked out or adjusted, we can clean it up. I think that that's okay. And I don't think the mayor was trying to attack anybody. There's certainly circumstances of supply chain and things like that have made things a mess, we understand that, but it's just a good time to hash out anything that you feel is a problem with the development agreement when it's opened up for an amendment to talk about it.
What's the approximate acreage on that hashed out piece that Staker owns, or that's part of the 74 that's coming in, right?
120?
Or,
So that's 118 acres that's
Oh.
cross-hatched.
what's the 74 we're talking about today on?
And that number I have in the report is really kind of like a net, that there's acreage going out and acreage coming in, and that was just kind of.
Okay,
It's 118 being added.
Yeah.
and then they switched DAI and stuff like that,
Yeah.
okay, alright.
And also be aware, Staker already owns property that's in Amendment 4. So you are dealing with two owners that are already part of Amendment 4, and one of those owners is adding 118.
That's what Mike was referencing though, is
Yeah.
that Amendment 4.
Amendment
They
4
were
added the
before the
language.
condition
Yeah.
was added to the
Okay.
NDA amendment.
And the conservation standards is to be included in this also, because that was something we considered in any adjustment
Yes,
and
yeah.
that needs to be
Yeah.
part of this too. You have to meet our
So,
conservation
yeah, I think
guidelines,
that already applies to them, but we could make it
cause it didn't
clear.
before.
Correct, we did the finding of.
So this come back to us for
I was
approval.
gonna say, we
Whatever
need to,
necessity,
we
whatever
gotta
you call it.
what's our next steps then?
What's-
What are kind of, staff, what are you kind of thinking, what are you thinking, do you need direction from us, next steps, we need to know next steps, I'm kind of confused as to where to go from here. So I don't wanna belabor this, right, I don't wanna, I don't want meeting after meeting.
One of the items was, there was the list of conditions from planning commission. If you want them to move forward with those and change their amendment based on that, then that'd probably be the next step. If it's all of them, then all of them. If it's only some of them, then identify which
Yeah.
ones.
Taking all the recommendations on there, including.
Yeah,
And then if there's anything you wanted to add or subtract, or to that.
right.
That's the next step, cause then they're gonna need to go and address those things, and then submit that, and then we come back to another meeting. And at that point,
And
if everything's addressed. If it's all there,
It's
it's
a
a regular meeting
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
action.
we're not
Yeah.
coming back to another work meeting, so this is your.
And it sounds like they have some additional, go ahead.
Mayor, may I make a suggestion? Sorry, I've been watching this on the side. And it's, I think, if we were gonna go through that list of every one of the planning commission's conditions and ask the city council for their opinion tonight on those conditions, you're not gonna have any other agenda items tonight. May I respectfully suggest that we should sit back, and I haven't talked to Craig yet about this, but my recommendation is that we take the input we've gotten so far and the stuff that we just recently got from Mike, and that we try to straighten it out and clarify it a little bit and figure out, maybe talk to Blake and some other people to figure out the best way to bring it back to you relatively quickly and more cleanly than it is now. I think it's, having been watching and being unusually quiet for me, I think we're all a little bit confused at the moment as to what we're doing and what we want to do, and we just don't have enough clock to do it tonight.
I'm good with that. Yep.
I agree.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, and just to kind of add to that, the people that we speak to regarding this on a regular basis are Mike and Blake. But we never really have a lot of opportunity to talk to the city council or Nathan, and I would like to kind of have an open kind of area of communication with all of you if we can, and I'm happy to spearhead that. But whenever we talk to the staff, we get to this point where we have these meetings and a lot of things don't happen. So I would like to make sure that we can talk to the decision makers, to the people that we really need to speak with to get this moving along, because we just can't, as I've said before, move this along meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. At some point, we have to get to a resolution, and I want to speak to the people that can get the resolution accomplished.
And we agree, Craig. Like I said, we've tried to shorten our process. We've tried to shorten that. We've been talking a lot about that. We don't want to deal with this for a year. We've got a lot of things we've got to deal with, so I think the next step, like Bruce said, I like.
Mayor, thank you.
Yep, I like what Bruce said, or what, I think we're good, so. Okay, appreciate you guys being, I do appreciate, like I said, I promise there was no attack, it was just trying to open some conversation, appreciate your partnership.
Thank you as well.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to all staff. And Mayor, if you don't mind, I'll reach out to you here in the next couple days.
Okay.
Potentially to Nathan as well, and thanks for Leif and for Reed for their time tonight. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate everybody.
Thanks, Bruce.
Okay, look for a motion to.
Make a motion to temporary recess board meeting to go into general session.
All in favor?
Might as well get
You guys, can I
See,
just
should I
make
read
one
through?
comment here, just being an